Mike and Gold Chip aren't so fortunate. Caroline Treviranus and Comic Relief at the footbridge. There's just enough time to get to the Serpent from here. A well-known British combination, Chris Collins and Smokey the Sixth. Canadian Mark Ishoy on Law and Order over the Giants table.
Very well. Law and Order. Canada. All right.
The first Canadian rider, Juliet Bishop, advised her teammates not to go for time. At the Serpent, Mark chooses the longer route, even though he still has a fit horse. Mark completed the cross-country with 25.2 time penalties and no jumping faults. Jimmy Wofford and Karowich at the sinkhole.
Ho! Ho!
From Germany, Harry Klugman and Verberat. Australia's Peter Bryn and Peerless Don risked the straight line through this combination. Until now, Jim Wofford and Karowich have had a clean round. Harry Klugman comes down the hill, jumps the first, and like Karowich, falters at the second. Continuing on course, Jim takes jump number 27. They finish with 60 jumping faults and 30.8 time faults. From New Zealand, Joanne Bridgman and Bandolier.
Guatemala, 91. Start 46th place.
Take it straight on. Good.
Torrance Watkins and Red Store. Individual competitors from the United States. On course, behind Torrance, is Story Jenks and Tough Kenneman. The European champion, Lucinda Pryor-Palmer, and Village Gossip. They, too, met the tricky third element incorrectly, marring an otherwise spectacular round. American individual, Ralph Hill and Sergeant Gilbert. Ralph and Sergeant Gilbert make the Serpent look easy. Now there's an unexpected contender for world champion. The third British team rider, Jane Holderness Rodham and Warrior at Fort Lexington. Warrior at number 21, the footbridge. 2 fences later, he was eliminated at the Serpent, putting the British team out of the competition. From Canada, Kathy Wedge on Abracadabra. This horse did not like the look of Fort Lexington. Abracadabra jumps into the water in style, but on the far bank gets in trouble. Tad Coffin and Ballycore jumped big onto Fort Lexington. Ireland's only starter, John Watson on Cambridge Blue. They go on to finish the course with one of the fastest times of the day and only one stop. Eddie Stibba and Autumn Hayes. At Fort Lexington, they stop at the top, and turning around gets to be a problem. The fence after Fort Lexington was an open ditch and brush, another big effort. Richard Meade and Bleak Hills. Mike Plum and Lawrenson.
He was running strong and he was confident.
Number 44, number 20, number 43, fence 28, number 46, fence 2, number 45, fence 12.
I knew he had to jump this first fence well to get a good gallop at Fort Lexington. He jumped a little bit short, but he picked up the pace here, jumped easily onto the bank, bounced it well, came off the bank, and was well on to the next fence. I looked down at my watch after this fence, and he was 15 seconds fast.
I won't get past him if he gets past him.
I saw that the footing was bad in front of that panel, so I moved down a slot to see whether that might help him. But I knew after the footbridge I was in trouble, and I knew after his first stop that we were in real trouble. When I got after him, I didn't feel the surge forward that I usually get when I get into him, when I ask him to jump. Normally I don't have to ask him to jump, but today I did, and he would have no part of it. This disappointment was a mental thing more than a physical thing. I don't really think he was exhausted physically, because by the time I got to where the tents were, he was starting to pull me home again, like he normally does when I walk him by hand.
One major contender is left to ride. Helmut Rettemeyer on Lidalco for Germany.
Nice ball. Final result, 120 penalty points after the start. And we will go on.
He produces a clean round with 54 time faults. The end of the day found a curious crowd puzzling how this fence could stop so many combinations. 26 of 49 international competitors never made it around. The weather, hot and humid, exhausted both horses and riders. I was leading the individual competition, but not far behind were newcomers Ralph Hill and Mark Ishoy, with Herbert Rettemeyer lying fourth. Canada. Prompted by coach Michael Herbert to ride cautious rounds, all 4 team members successfully completed the course. For the crowd at the soundness inspection, there were 2 big moments. First, the presentation of 4 fit horses by new eventing power, Canada.
Sumatra has passed the examination, and now Sunrise, a 10-year-old thoroughbred cross-ridden, in fact by Elizabeth Ashton.
Next, the question on everyone's mind is Mike Tango's condition after the cross-country.
The next horse is Mike Tango, 7-year-old thoroughbred ridden by Bruce Davidson.
The horse's youth and a restful night brought him out sound in the morning.
Mike Tango has passed inspection.
Every seat in the stadium was full, hours before stadium jumping. The Kentucky Horse Park put on a real show, a salute to the horse, a collection of all breeds, types, and sizes.
Lipizzaners began, as so many of our breeds today, with the famed Spanish Andalusians, which were sought after by royalty all over Europe. Now we have the development of horses in the United States. The following will give some idea not only of the history of the American horses, but of horses in America today. The Appaloosa. The horse made great changes in the life of the American Indians, who extensively used the Mustang or Indian pony. From these horses, the Nez Perce Indians of the Northwest selected color patterns which they used to breed and develop the Appaloosa. This horse is primarily known for its distinctive marking. The standard bred. Standard bred began as a necessity in early American life. People needed to be transported, and the light harness speed horse developed simultaneously with its more practical use. Palomino is a color, golden with a white mane and tail. This example is an American saddle horse. And now, the five-gated American saddlebred, represented by the superb 1978 World's Champion. From Argentina, the miniature.
What are those?
These horses are the product of 36 years of controlled breeding. They were bred down from regular-sized horses. The Connemara's, Gilnockie Yard, Rich McDare, owned by Mr. and Mrs. Ronald Gascoigne of Crestwood, and Dove Lockham, owned by...
Just as the steeplechase and cross-country were complete tests of a horse and rider's skill in the open, the show jumping proved to be an all-around test of the horse and rider in the arena.
For this test, the stadium jumping, there are 12 obstacles with 15 fences in the course. The length of the course is 800 meters. The time allowed is 120 seconds.
Third in individual standings and a member of the Canadian team, Law and Order, ridden by Mark Ishoy. He takes the top rail down on the oxer. And jumps poorly through the Liverpool combination. His fourth rail at the Swedish Oxer, costing Mark the individual bronze medal. A disappointing round for Mark Ishoy, but Canada is still in the lead.
The next competitor is number 24, Ralph Hill, an individual rider from the United States with Sergeant Gilbert.
Ralph Hill and Sergeant Gilbert enter the show jumping in second place. At the beginning of the course, Sergeant Gilbert seems to be very much in hand and jumping well. Ralph is riding him cautiously. He wants to take no chances. Here the horse gets strung out. All three rails come down. With three fences down, Ralph has dropped from second to fourth place. Still, an exciting ending for his first international competition. John Watson on Cambridge Blue. He's jumping very well at the beginning of the course, making big, clean efforts. A big jump in and out over the Liverpool combination. through the pond, and out over those rails, just one fence to go. A clean round. Myself on Might Tango. He's jumping well at the beginning of the course. I was concerned about the Liverpool combination. His tendency would be to jump too big on the end and come close to the out. But he handled it very well. He's over the second, but has the third element down. That's our first fence down. He has the last fence down, but he's still the world champion. The last Canadian combination, Liz Ashton on Sunrise. Liz has a lot of experience in show jumping, having been a member of the Canadian jumping team. No jumping penalties and only 0.5 time penalties. That secures the gold for Canada. There's a close race developing between the U.S. and Germany in the team competition. For the United States, Ballycore had a good round. The German horse Volturno followed and jumped clean. Now the German Helmut Rettmeyer on Ledalco is the last to go. Less than 20 points separate the two nations. With one rail down, Germany can still win the silver. And with a clear round, Ledalco will win the individual silver. He drops his hind legs in the oxer. Helmut is now in third place behind John Watson.